Yeah. How was your guys' October? As you guys like, dude, 2021 is almost over, which is crazy, which is nuts.
Yeah, this month kind of flew by.
Flew by, right?
Yeah, I did a lot though, because we released Blush on Apple TV like the first day of the month. So it's been out there for a month, and I've been out there talking about it and sharing it with people, which is very exciting. And and I love that they released it October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and also Filipino American History.
Perfect. I mean, really, it's a perfect time to have released it. I'm glad it worked out in that. It's a beautiful, beautiful project. So we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Joe, how long have you been at Skydance for?
2.5 years now.
Has it been that long? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I found my new home at Skydance. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great, man. But yeah, I think it's been I can't remember. I was trying to think of like last time I saw you, and it was like, I think it was like Big Hero 6 times. Maybe.
Yeah. Were you there still at the studio at Disney?
Yeah, I left. I left in the middle of Zootopia, or like at the beginning of Zootopia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you work on Zoo?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
With Josie and
That's right. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I was just telling Monica that I was like looking up like all the stuff you worked on. Dude, you worked on everything like at Disney forever. You worked there for like
I'm old, man.
75 years or something like that. What'd you say?
He said I'm old, and I am too, because that's where we met. Joe and I met at Disney in like, was it 1994 or 95 for you?
94.
Yeah, same with me.
November 94 to be exact.
That's what it is, because I started in September of 94.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was there probably 2 weeks before you came. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
There was a big influx of people, so
Oh, was there? Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was right after Lion King just came out, right? Like
crazy.
I mean, Lion King was coming out, I think, right when I think got hired. It was coming out. Oh yeah.
Oh, it didn't come out yet at that time. Yeah.
I think it came out in, was it the summer before in 94? Let me see the release date. I'll look.
But
no, I think it came out before we started there.
Monica, I see.
Yeah, it was out for like a couple.
Yeah. You're right. June 24th. Yep.
Yeah. No, I just remember people who worked on that getting their bonuses. So it's like,
oh my
God! But that's
driving with new cars the next day, right?
Yes.
Insane. It was insane.
Yes, and what's so funny? That's why I thought. Well, I know I was there during that time because I'm one of the people that had to give out the bonus checks, and I didn't get anything because PAs then didn't get anything. So there was a big town hall. Remember, with O'Neill and Rasul and all of us talking about, I've got enough hats. I need money.
Doesn't that still I don't know. But awesome. I mean, like, okay, let's kind of get into it, if you guys don't mind. Man, that kind of takes me back though. It's crazy that you guys were there before like Lion King stuff. But thank you everybody for coming. And Joe, you're okay if we upload this to YouTube? I should have asked you earlier, later, but
I think so.
We share everything. We don't have to. We won't ask you anything inflammatory.
Yeah, inflammatory.
You can always say, no comment.
Yes.
You know what? It's okay. Whatever. I don't know. Let's
So you're super straight up. So this is our last panel, Rise Up Animation panel, Filipino American History Month, and we're honored to welcome Joe Mateo, who is a a Filipino American writer, director, and story artist currently at Skydance Animation. You've been there for 2 years. Joe was previously at Walt Disney Feature Animation, where we met him as a story artist. I'm going to go backwards on Raya, Ralph to Zootopia, Big Hero 6, Tangled, Bolt, which you were nominated for an Annie. I remember that. And an animator and rough in betweener on Home on the Range, Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Emperor's New Groove, Fantasia 2000, Tarzan, Mulan, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Pocahontas. Starting out with, which is where you probably met Mon. And so, I mean, you've had like a little bit of experience in the animation industry, I've seen.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, a few departments. Now he's directing.
Yeah. And wow, that's crazy. That's like, anyway, like I have vivid memories of standing in line for all of those movies. But currently, Joe's, like we mentioned, a writer-director at Skydance Animation. And he most recently was the writer-director of his short film Blush, which is super important because it's Skydance Animation's first debut short film, first bit of animation into the public, right?
Yeah.
So if you guys don't mind, I will share whether you've seen it or not. Right now on Apple TV, I don't know if everyone has Apple TV. It's where you watch Ted Lasso. You could also check out Blush. So I'm going to share my screen. I'll share the trailer with everyone really quickly and humbly. So give me a sec. Oops. Sorry. Okay, cool. Sorry, let me try this one more time.
Don't worry, it's people who don't do this often.
But I do it often.
No, I meant to say that people who don't do it, they don't realize that it's a little bit of a thing, even if you do it a lot.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Beautiful.
So beautiful. I almost had to turn my camera off because I started getting all teary. Sorry, Joe.
Oh, no apologies, Monica. There's a lot of that happening through the making of this short.
Yeah. I mean, like I will say before we kind of get into it, I just wanted to put it out there. Yes, please check it out on Apple TV. It's a wonderful, beautiful short and a wonderful debut for Skydance Animation and our friends at Skydance. I wanted to say really quickly before the internet was like artist savvy and everyone had blogs and that kind of stuff, I found out about Joe's work through a story he had done for a Disney story artist anthology called Who is Rocket Johnson? And so I was still in Seattle, I was trying to break into the industry. It's like this collection of short stories from Disney story artists. And I was going through this anthology and Joe's story pops up and it's set in the Philippines. And it's like a rogue jeepney, maybe based on your experiences and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, whoa, man, this is crazy. Like I'd never seen anyone kind of like on that level, like represent for the culture. And it kind of blew my mind. And like a Filipino story artist at Disney telling stories from his childhood. That's nuts. And the draftsmanship was on point. The storytelling was on point. I was like, this kid, man, this guy. So I think I cold emailed you or something like that, like just like a nobody, and just kind of, it's like, hey, like big fan. I loved your story and Rocket Johnson. And he replied back. And like that is such a huge thing to get a response from luminaries like that are down at LA doing their thing, representing and just kind of at these like big companies. And so when he wrote back, I was just like, it could like set you up for years of just to be encouraged and inspired and everything. You gave me some advice and that kind of stuff. Probably don't even remember it, but
I remember meeting you for the first time, Bobby, and oh my God, thank you for sharing that story. I don't think you told me about it, but that's man, I'm so touched by that story. Thank you. And I remember meeting you for the first time. I think it was like a panel that we had at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember chatting with you and just, man, and all of a sudden we're working together.
Here we are. Yeah.
It's insane. And it's just
no, it was awesome, man. And on that note, I'd love to segue into Monica and your experiences and how you guys met and your kind of origin story of like the whole thing of like how you even got to Disney, because you were from the Philippines, right? Coming from the Philippines.
Yeah.
Do you want to, Monica, you want to get that off?
Born in the Philippines, but now he is an American citizen. So he is Filipino American, everyone. And I just want to say, you're going to see me tear up, people. I'm going to be wiping my eyes because Joe and I go way back. Like literally, we were talking at the beginning. I started at Disney on Pocahontas in cleanup as a cleanup PA, production assistant, in September of 1994. And Joe started in November of 1994. And you were in my building, right? We're in Chastain together.
Yep.
So just to give you guys a little bit of like, what does that mean? So normally an entire production is together in one building. But we got so big trying to finish Pocahontas, especially the cleanup department. We were hiring people in. And so we couldn't fit in what was called the Hart Dannon building, which used to be actually like a mortuary. They used to make coffins there just a little.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Monica.
It was a little haunted. But that's
right there. Yeah.
That's because the animation building, everybody, wasn't done yet. They were starting to build it, which is the big building that's on, that has the big sorcerer's hat, sorcerer's apprentice hat. So anyway, so they opened up a separate building. It was called Chastain. It's now called Circle 7, but there was about, 65 of us in there. They were all cleanup artists, a few animators for Ratcliffe, the character in Pocahontas who was the bad guy. And I think I was actually the only production representative with all those artists, and it was the best experience. And I will never forget Joe and how, he just touched my heart. I mean, there was a few of these brand new cleanup artists that came in, Chris Sonnenberg,
Mike Lester, Donnie
Long, exactly.
Yeah.
And then even there was the one female who was Denise Meehan.
Yeah.
Yes, and we all would like hang out together, and I was the PA, and and they were all artists, and it was phenomenal. So tell us, if you would, about what brought you to me and to us, and how that all happened.
So yeah, do you want me to start from the very beginning, from when I was 5?
Well, if it was your art journey.
No, I've like Bobby said, I was born in the Philippines, like Manila, Tondo, Manila, to be exact. And always loved drawing. I knew from a young age that I had a gift, and just remember just give me a pencil and paper, and I would be sitting in the corner and just drawing for hours, and then I grew up watching animation. Filipinos my age know about, this is what we watched growing up, Voltas 5, So it's like a Japanese animation that got banned by by Marcos. Okay. I don't want to get into politics, but yeah,
But that shows that that shows that you had to overcome that, because
yeah,
the Marcos would they
right.
banned it and you were still like, no animation.
Yep. And then, but Super Friends was my favorite. Like I remember this character Apache Chief. I thought he was Filipino. He looks like Lapu Lapu. It's like the national, hero of the Philippines. Uh, but yeah, so at a young age there was like a hunger, I guess, for representations. Just seeing that character there hanging out with Batman and Robin, Superman, a Filipino. So, so I was awestruck by Disney. Watching like a Disney short, I remember like it just Disney quality kind of separates itself from all other animation back then. Just remember Mickey's trailer, it just blew my mind. But for me, animation was always something that that it's a form of entertainment. It's something that I think it's too much for me to even dream about getting into. At a young age, because it's like, it's how do they do that? It's but I've always been into comic books though. That's like my thing. I remember sitting. I grew up like in a market in the Philippines, close to a marketplace, and they have like comic book stalls. And I would that's where you can find me, like in a like on the street reading comic books, like Filipino comic books. And so, and then I have a half brother who kind of introduced me to Marvel and all that stuff. And that's what I did growing up. Like, I think that's where I learned like human anatomy, from tracing like Marvel and DC, panels. So, and and not until I went to college where I really got into like animation. I enrolled at UST, like the oldest university in Asia, I think. Yeah.
Where is it?
University of Santo Tomas.
Yeah. Armand went there, and Anthony went there, and Ronnie Del Carmen went there.
Yep. I know, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's they're known for their art department, and a lot of talented people went there, and that's actually the only college that I applied to. And I didn't have any backup plans, but luckily I got in. And then that's where I met Marianne. So like I said, I was more into comic books. And then I remember meeting Marianne in college. I have to share this story now. It's like, my first week of college, I hear this laughter coming from across the room. And it's like, we have a big classroom, right? But she's loud, man.
Yeah. No, she had a beautiful laugh. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I walked over there and introduced myself, and there's this, I think she's the tiniest in the class. She turned around and she blushed, like she changed color, like red. Like I remember thinking, like, are you okay, kind of thing. I mean, it was love at first sight, but I don't think it was the same for her. Because no, I soon found out that she's known for doing that, for blushing for no reason. Like her nickname in high school was Ketchup.
She would turn red, right?
But yeah, but it was, for me, it was too late. I was already charmed by it. And, I ended up pursuing her. And yeah, and that's when I got into animation. I remember seeing Little Mermaid with her like 5 times, and yeah, and she just saw what I had and helped direct it and helped nurture nurture it, you know. So I don't think I will be here if not for Marianne and, you know, our shared passion for animation. And yeah, she actually got hired at, so we both moved here like a month apart from each other here in the States, you know, after college. And she actually got hired at Disney before me. So she was the one who told me about Pocahontas and the opening that they had for Cleanup In-Betweeners. And so I remember her teaching me, you know, telling me how to do Cleanup In Between. And she just basically drew like.
What, Joe, where did she get hired into? What group?
Consumer products.
Oh, right, consumer products.
Yeah.
Because I knew she got hired before you. That was the whole thing. For people who don't know, Marianne, his wife, who became his wife, before that though, was like really good and really competitive, and she would get into stuff before you.
Yeah, yeah. And she has, so this is what she showed me, right? This is like, okay, you have a big tree and you have a small tree. So the in-between, you just draw like a medium-sized tree.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, that's so great.
That's really funny.
So,
and kind of accurate.
No, it's super accurate. That's why it's
super accurate, right? I mean,
okay, no, totally, right? Like it breaks down so simple, like what in between is. And then so I got into so I went in to start the test, right? You know, I went over there. Oh, okay, because my portfolio was like 90% like comic book panels. And you know, while we were waiting to start with the test, I overhear these people also applying with me. They're like talking about like, oh yeah, they don't like comic book panels. I don't know, Monica, do you remember that? There was like a recruiter who hates seeing comic book stuff in their portfolio. So I was like, oh shoot, like, oh my God, that's not very motivating for, you know, it add to my like nervousness, you know. And then I went in to start the test and there were two options. And one was John Smith and the other one was Pocahontas. And I looked at the John Smith one and thought to myself, I can do this because I was really comfortable drawing male characters, right? And then they passed out the sheets and I looked down and of course, everyone took the John Smith. There was like only the Pocahontas one left, and oh my God! And she's like, her head is turning.
Oh, she's so
the
hard.
hair is like a Glen Keane drawing of the hair, kind of like flowing like that. Like, how? So I just did my best, and I think they were desperate for people back then. So I got a call out like a month, no, like maybe like a couple of weeks after.
But
and
they saw but come on now, they saw your talent. So we could say that we definitely needed people, but they were not just hiring anybody. So yeah.
Thank you, Monica.
It's true.
Yeah. Like it was a dream when I got that call. It's like, you know, I didn't think this would be possible, but Marianne made it so. You know, she always believed in me, and you know, I remember her telling me like because she didn't apply, she was like, Joe, I don't think I can do that, but you can. You know, it's like so yeah, I remember my first couple of weeks there, and I have to share my first experience with Monica, and one of the like moments of kindness that I experienced working there. Because do you remember Ivan Camili? You know, he's like this big guy, and we were like moving desks, and I remember you being concerned that, you know, we're gonna hurt our backs, you know. And then I remember you making a big deal out of it because you're so concerned about me, and I was so like, you know, I was so touched, and you know, I can never forget that. And that's, you know, one thing that I want to share is like, you know, act of kindness like that, it stays with people, you know. And you know, it's been 30 years, but I had this special connection that started there with you.
Yeah.
So
It totally did. I mean, we definitely, there was a lot of people in the film, but there was certain people that like you just connected with. And I'll never forget, because you were in the United States, but you were on a visa at the time. And there was a moment where something happened with Joe's visa, and I won't name names because that person people know, but there was an individual who told Joe, you can't be in the building, you can't work until this is resolved, and kind of like made him leave. And we were devastated, remember? We were so angry about the way he was treated, and we thought, so what, let him come in, and I remember getting really passionate about that too. I call it passionate. But that all got worked out. Joe came back, everything was great.
Yeah, I think I was out for a month. It was just a lag of, workers permit or whatever visa thing. I can't even remember the specifics of it, but yeah.
No, but it was my first experience with, because I was like in my 20s, like I hadn't dealt with visas before, and that even that could happen to an individual. So I feel like I learned a lot.
Yeah,
and other things. Yeah.
And what's great about that, even though I was only there for like a couple of months when that happened, I felt like I bonded with like people already. That's what's great about, animation industry or Disney, I guess at that time. It's like, it's so hard because, you all share the same passion and interests, and, you're just there to kind of like help each other out and learn from each other,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then you started, came back, started working on different projects. When did you and Marianne get married? Was it after you got to the US?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but I proposed Marianne at the wrap party of Pocahontas.
Oh, was it there?
Yeah. That's where I proposed to Marianne.
That's amazing.
I was like, what, right? It's like,
honestly, that the courage that must have taken. I love that. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's the funniest thing though. It's the most awkward thing because it's at the Union Station. It was like a big, wrap party back then, right? Wrap parties were huge.
They were huge. Yeah. That one was actually one of the best before it got too big, even because it got even bigger after that. Because remember Hercules, like 4 stories down at a hotel. Like that was a great Union Station. Pocahontas, I got to tell you, was my first wrap party too, but it was the best of all that I'd ever been to.
I know. So I picked the right time to propose, I think.
Yeah, you did.
I remember the ring. It was so tiny because that's the only thing I could afford. And you can barely see it. And I remember, we were taking pictures. And Mike Lester, and Donnie Long was there, and Chris Sonnenberg getting ready they were all in on it, and I got on the stage. Marianne thought we were just going to take pictures, and I showed her the ring, and she slapped it. She slapped the ring. She was so embarrassed, and she was so red. She was so red. I've never seen Marianne so red like that. But yeah, so I think we almost lost the ring, but yeah. No, she said yes, and then I don't know, like a couple of years after that, we got maybe a year after that we got married.
Yeah.
So,
wow, that's awesome. And so at that point it became just normal working together. We do movie after movie after movie. You moved from cleanup because back then you started like in cleanup or as a rough in betweener. It depended. They were all kind of entry level positions, just like being a PA. So we were all equivalents in our own way, but just because we were all entry level first jobs. And then if you really wanted to be an animator, you went from cleanup and you became a rough in betweener, and you did that, and then you became an animator, and then you moved to story, right?
Yeah. So real quick, I got into the training program to become a 2D animator, and that's for, remember Home on the Range? It was Sweating Bullets, and then it became Home on the Range.
Yes.
So I was like a career rough in betwer for a while,
I remember.
I just enjoyed doing it and really learning from animators, and just I had a lot of help. A lot of animators like gave me like small sequences to kind of like.
I was gonna say you were very sought after. Like anybody
Oh.
who were like, oh, because I remember we had just a small pool of rough in-betweeners, and they'd be like, oh, is Joe available? Is Joe available? Everybody wanted you to do their work, the in-betweening for them. It's so funny.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Monica. But yeah, so I got into the training program and did that for a year. Russ Edmonds was my mentor. You know, he was the lead animator on what's the name of that dog in Little Mermaid. So, but yeah, he's awesome with like four-legged creatures, and that was like my main weakness. And you know, I remember being scared of like being under Russ Edmonds because he's like the master of that. But it actually worked out perfectly because I learned so much, you know, and then I became confident to like, it kind of completed my, you know, helped complete my skill a little bit, you know, in drawing. So I did that for a year, and then and then I think I animated on Home on the Range for like 2 months, and then they stopped making 2D.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but yeah, you're right. It's horrible.
Right? It's
Oh, God, yeah,
well,
horrible.
so unfortunately for me, they were starting another training program for story artists, and I submitted for that, and I got in, and that's how I I remember taking an exit interview for animation, and then the following Monday getting a welcome to become a storyboard artist, you know, starting on the training program basically.
Right,
so
right.
yeah, so I was able to kind of like hang on.
Nice.
You know,
Well, you know, that's what we had to do. All of us, we all had to. 2D was going away. CG was coming in. I think I was actually starting Chicken Little, I think, while you guys were on, because I wasn't on Home on the Range. I went from Treasure Planet to Chicken Little, if I remember correctly, because Treasure Planet was kind of it, right? And then you guys went on, everyone was on Home on the Range, because we were on Treasure Planet together. And then Clay was also on Treasure Planet with you and I, and then he went to Home as well, Home on the Range. So it was just an interesting time. And then I'm going to fast forward a little bit, and we can still lead up to it, because I always, I'm putting like little little markers, like we met here. Tell us how you got here. Yeah. So I'm just going to mention that in 2014, so quite a bit later, I was on Zootopia, and so was Joe. You came on, right? And I think I was on the film for a year, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was, you know, nobody wants to get that news. And I'll never forget that Joe and Marianne, his wife, were there for me because she had been diagnosed and she was in remission. She was on tamoxifen, which is what I'm on today. And so she was kind of in her 5 years of after, like, you know, you get treatment and then you're in remission and you're taking pills for like 5 years or 10 years. And she was within her 5-year treatment. And I'll never forget the support and the mental support you guys and emotional and love you guys gave me. And then as I went through my whole thing and I came back to work. So we're talking now 2015, right? Mm-hmm. And Marianne got a reoccurrence. And that for us became what brought us, I mean, there was already a love between all of us and a tightness, but it became even more so. It became the fight of her life. And now I was in remission and watching that. And like, I remember Joe and I would sit in my office and cry together. So tell us, if you would, about, because Blush is inspired by your meeting her, your love together, your children, her illness, and then her passing. And so, and I'm sorry, people, if I get emotional, but I just loved her. So, so if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about kind of like where you guys were when that happened, and
yeah. So yeah, working at Disney, we created this dream life, right? Like we were living the American dream, basically. You know, we have our 2 daughters. And then this happened, you know, like cancer happened, and you know, like it came back after 4 years. So you know, we thought she was out of it. And then 4.5 years ago, I lost Marianne, and it's at same night, I couldn't breathe. Like I had I had this difficulty breathing, like I didn't know what was going on, and it's panic attack, right? I've never experienced that before, you know. And it was really scary. And I think fortunately for me, I had my both of my daughters close to me when it happened. You know, all throughout that, you know, they were by my side. Um, and even after that, I struggled to like go back to work for like several months. And I found myself looking, but I found myself looking back to that moment where I realized like Marianne was my heir, and my two kids, Joanne and Mina, saved me. Um, and it became kind of like I was inspired by not the loss, but by what my daughters did to me, you know. And you know, it really inspired me to share with people that, you know, that message of losing someone you love can be overcome by surrounding yourself with people you love, you know, which is really important. You know, there's so I was inspired to share that, and and it kind of, thinking about that short helped me, like naturally helped me go back into what I do, like storyboarding, because, you know, I'm thinking about story again, and, you know, how you shape it. And so I was able to go back on Raya and, you know, do that. And towards the end of, and then, you know, while working on it, I kept thinking about the short. And when it comes to pitching it, I was like, you know, I want to make sure, because it's so personal, that, you know, I want to make sure that it stays personal. And so yeah, I luckily, you know, Nathan and Orion, who's working at Skydance, told me about that place. And you know, and they're like one of my closest friends. And yeah, and they actually helped board on the movie. So that kind of, you know, made me wanna kind of like go out there and see where's the best place to make the short, you know. So I ended up like pitching it to, they set up a meeting for me to meet with John, you know, Nathan and Orion, and I met with John. You know,
John Lasseter, everyone.
John Lasseter, yeah. And John's like, you know, he's like from working with him, it's like the, you know, very, like, I can't imagine, like, he's a good mentor of like filmmakers, that, you know, he becomes your like cheerleader, and, you know, like pushes for the authenticity of like the filmmaker's vision. And so I met with John, and I just talked to him about the reason for me wanting to make this short. That's all I had to say. There were no details or anything. And yeah, and I remember, oh, that needs to be made. I remember him saying that. So I moved to Skydance, and I think I was working there for like a couple months. I'm not sure the amount of time I was there, but I was on my way to go to like on a vacation, like a 3-week vacation that I already planned, you know, before I moved there. And so before I left, I was like, I reminded John of like, hey, John, do you remember the short I was telling you about? Oh yeah. Let's go talk about it. So yeah, I sat there in the room with John and showed an image that I did of the short. And then that's all I had. And I proceeded to tell him the story. And I remember, you know, he had a like really big reaction for like, he was like excited about he was very emotional and excited about, you know, the visualizing air and breathe, and, you know, the symbolism of that being the symbolism of love, you know.
Totally.
So it's something that, you know, he felt like we've never seen before. So yeah, so, you know, I was happy going out of that meeting, and I thought, yeah, I think I didn't mess it up. So, and then, yeah, I remember going back to my room, and at the end of that day, one of the creative development person came up to me, and I was like, and she was like, "Oh, John's very excited about your short." It's like, "Oh, okay." You know, so I guess he's been telling people already about it. And so I ended up pitching it to her. And then I went on my vacation. And when I came back, you know, Orion and Nathan was like, "Dude, we're making your short." It's like, "Stop it, you guys. No, don't mess with me like this." But yeah, no, there was a big conversation. You know, everyone's excited. And this is the first thing that's coming out of Skydance. And it just kind of happened from there. You know, we started putting together the reel with Orion and Nathan, and one of the storyboard artists that I met there and became a dear friend of mine too, Anna Lencioni. And so yeah, all four of us, and you know, with Tim Mertens who edited it. You know, that was like the first group who put the reel together with John. And yeah, it took us like a month and a half or so to put the reel together, and it was amazing. I remember we screened it at the studio, and it got a really great response. It got like a standing ovation from everyone at Skydance, and I was just so overwhelmed by it. Like, you know, for our storyboard reel to get that type of reaction, it was really special. And I remember thinking, you know, I wanted to thank all these people who helped it, but I was so overwhelmed. I was just sitting there and sobbing and crying because I just shared this very personal story with everyone, right?
Sure.
And, you know, Marianne's picture and our picture has always been a part of it, you know. And that's why I love about working at Skydance. Like, you know, there was no question, there was no hesitancy on their part to kind of like pull back the very personal nature of this film, you know.
For sure.
To steer away from that. And actually I was, you know, I felt like I was encouraged to do it, you know. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And so for the audience a little bit, so I have been doing so Joe and I actually, we kind of lost touch for a little while.
Yeah.
And just a little while, like COVID and everything happening. And so, and I had agreed to produce a cancer short, you know, that we're making on the side with other cancers, about breast cancer, so breast cancer survivors. And so I actually reached out to Joe to ask Joe if he would be interested, because we wanted people on the project who have either had cancer or they're what we call cancer adjacent. Well, meaning they had someone in their life who had cancer and beat it or lost them. And so, of course, I was there the evening that Marianne passed away. I was with Joe that night. So I thought maybe Joe might want to do some boards on our project. And so I reached out to him and he said, "You know, I'm doing my short." And I was like, "What? No, I don't know what you're doing. What are you doing?" And he showed it to me. And of course, he didn't have to give me any of the details, because once I saw it, you know, I just cried like a baby because I saw all the symbolism, everything, you know, it was so clear to me. And I wish it could be as clear to everyone who sees it, because I think that's the beauty of it. Some people may not get that they think, oh, it's just a space story, boy meets girl. And it's like, no, you're utilizing that as a place to show air, and that someone fills you up and lets you breathe and live, you know, and how you feel like you're going to die without them. So it was so beautiful.
Thank you, Monica.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the reaction that you've been getting from people?
Yeah, it's been very positive, and I think, you know, Blush is doing what it set out for it to do. And just, you know, what's amazing is like a lot of the interviews I've done, like most of them, the interviewers share their personal stories with me. I think me sharing this very personal story gave them permission to do so, you know, which I love. So and for me it was very rewarding, you know, and we need that. We need to be able to talk about this kind of stuff, you know, for it's part of the process of healing. And
It's life,
yeah,
right? Love
yeah,
and loss. It's
yeah,
love. Bobby, please take over with any questions you have.
yeah.
I wanted to touch on a little bit to Joe of you know, for the audience or the people that would watch this, and you know, us in the spirit of passing on what we know and our experiences to the next generation of animation filmmakers, of like, you know, let's talk about being vulnerable in your short filmmaking, like in your shorts, right? Of like, I know that wasn't a hard thing for you to do. And I know that you put yourself out there, you're very vulnerable and that kind of stuff. Can you speak to the importance a little bit about like aspiring filmmakers that are making short films, that want to make short films, whether out in the out there or just kind of like in school, and the importance of like talking about like personal stories?
Yeah. And for me, blush is like, because I'm kind of used to like putting a lot of myself into what I do, right? And in the story sessions, you know, story meetings, the brainstorming that we do, we always pull from who we are. And you know, I think that's the, you can only, I don't think you can go wrong with, you know, pulling from personal experience, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it just helped being authentic, right? Like, and I do that. You know, I've done that on the films that I've worked on as a storyboard artist, but it kind of stops there. You know, the directors can take what they want out of it, right? But whatever I do, I try to like pull from my personal experience. Even, you know, it started from me in the training program, and that's the only way I can do things, you know. And I think I can be better when I do that. Oh, I'm better when I do that. And then so with blush, it just came out natural for me, and it's actually easier for me because I lived it, you know. I didn't have to make up stuff. I didn't have to make it fit to like the story that I want to tell. It's blush is, it's my life. It was my life with Marianne, you know. And I think you can, I don't think, I don't know how you can get, I don't know how you can get wrong with that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I guess my advice is to, yeah, search, like, you know, pull from what you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and your heart. And, you know, instead of, you know, trying to make up stuff that, I mean, it's good too, you know, it's part of creating, right? But always find that connection within you, you know, that, and it'll just help with like the authenticity basically of what you do, you know.
Yeah,
So
100%. No, that's beautiful, man. And I also wanted to touch on something that we're all kind of learning here too, just kind of like, you know, taking your personal experiences, life experiences, and then kind of, that's one part of it, right? Being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, but also kind of thinking about like how a story like this can be universal. So a lot of
yeah,
people can kind of take from it. You know, do you have any
yeah.
thoughts on that, Joe?
Yeah, Bobby, thank you for asking that, because that was actually one of my main concern, right? Because of it being so personal, like,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
but so I was kind of hesitant, and you know, and I think that's where the idea of like making it like not putting any dialogue, you know, to
Mm-hmm.
help with like, you know, because I want this to be universal. I want this to, you know, we all go through this, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
um um and um and and I think I had you know, I again, my decision of wanting to work with close friends to put this together really helped, because they helped me see the that doing it, like sharing this very personal story, is okay. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, and during the whole production, I had that little doubt in myself that, you know, maybe it's too personal, you know, maybe it's too personal, maybe I was the one who's like wanting to pull it back, you know. And they keep encouraging me to kind of like, no, don't. And there was this one moment I want to share real quick, when we were issuing an animation, and that sequence of her passing, and I was, you know, I was fine with like giving the technical direction, like the camera move, and, you know, how I want the spiral effects to be, and just, you know, talking about, and then I came to like talking about the meaning of that scene, and I found myself looking back, you know, remembering that moment of when I lost Marianne, and I just fell apart, and I, you know, I couldn't control it. I just, you know, I was sobbing, and I remember putting my hands on my face here. Oh, because we were recording it on Zoom, because we have to, you know, we're working with our crew at Madrid, so we have to record it and send it to them. And there were like 8 people in the Zoom, right? Like watching me do this. And I remember thinking, it's like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm making everyone so uncomfortable, you know? And then I looked up, and no one hid, no one stopped there, you know, they were all there crying with me, you know? And sorry.
Okay.
And it was a very, it's a catharsis, right? Like,
Yeah, I was going to say it's very therapeutic in a sense. I mean,
yeah.
and that's yeah, go ahead.
And that was, yeah, that was one of the moments where I felt like this is a safe place. I can tell this story and not, you know, I shouldn't hold back. And so.
And I do think that's the beauty of the animation industry. You know, I mean, I know that, you know, Disney did start it, really, right? I mean, you know, they're one of the oldest animation companies, so it's hard not to put them insert them into everything, and they're such a big part of our lives. I mean, you were there a total of how many years? I was there 23. How long were you there? 25?
24 and a half.
24 and a half. I was going to say about 25. So that's a huge chunk of our lives, and I think it's wonderful that we've made these relationships, that whether you go to another production company or studio, those people that you can still see and that you can trust, like it's all part of the healing, and it's a beautiful thing. And I mean, I know how proud, how to say this, as someone who has gone through cancer and was thinking they were going to die and didn't, you end up having survivor's guilt. And that's what I had with Marianne. I felt horrible that I survived when she didn't. And, but I, at the same time, having the ability to see what you were able to put together and help people heal and identify. And I mean, Manoja here spoke about how her husband in the chat is, you know, gone through cancer as well. Of course, I hope that he's in remission and well. You know, at the end of the day, it's just a beautiful gift, because, you know, we're all humans going through the,
don't talk. I'm gonna talk.
We're all humans on this earth at the same time as it revolves. You know what I mean? It's a pretty magnificent time. And anyway.
Yeah. Do you want to jump in, Manoja? Or yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Manoja, do you have a camera?
Yes, but unfortunately I cannot use it at the moment.
No
Okay.
problem. You don't have.
Because I joined the panel while I'm in work, so I'm on break right now, so I can't join. Hi everyone.
Hi.
Yes. First of all, Joe. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing the backstory. I fell in love with your Blush, the movie, the film, and I didn't know the entire backstory. I just naturally, innocently fell in love with it, and then now knowing the backstory, it just hits on a whole different level. Because Last year, my husband was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, but he beat it. He's in remission. Yeah, but he was the main person who inspired me to pursue storytelling, because I'm actually a trained nurse. I'm not even in animation. Bobby knows me, I'm Mano. So so basically he's the one who inspired me to push it, and I started working on bringing my story to life and everything. I've been doing so for the past 3 years now. And so when my husband obviously got diagnosed, it hit hard because he was the inspiration for everything. And I'm sorry, it's a bit hard.
Don't be sorry. It's hard no matter what for us.
Yeah. So as a caregiver, obviously, I can only imagine what you went through, and to lose her, it's not easy. It's not easy. And you did such an amazing job. So what I want to ask is, when you're trying to tell personal stories like that, how do you find the balance of sharing just enough as well as bringing the justice to the story itself? Do you know what I mean? So, because I try to do that, because the story I'm actually working on was inspired by him and during our wedding time, to be honest. So I find sometimes it was hard, and now, especially with the cancer that hit, it's even harder. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, during the process of this, I just, like I said, I found myself kind of like holding myself back, right? Like, but I think, especially with the time while, we were doing this from home during COVID, I can't help but just put everything, like, I shared everyone, it was a therapeutic process. I opened up about what I've been through. Like, I shared all the stories with, really personal stories with people. And when you have a story like this, and it sounds like, Manoha, you're working on a same level of how personal your story is putting together. It's hard not to have this personal connection with people that you're working with, so once you have that, it makes it easier to go through the process. And I think for me, it's like telling the story and knowing people that that I trust surrounding me, who tells me what's enough, and I think that helped me decide on what to show, and how to go about it, in telling it.
Joe, would you say it would be better for Manoha to just like kind of put it all out, as far as the entire thing that happened, and then potentially pull layers back from there?
Yeah, pitch it to people, pitch it to people you trust, mentors, pitch it to Bobby, and but yeah, for your initial draft, just put I would suggest to put everything in it,
Yeah, because I remember when I first wrote it out, I was like, is this too much? Is this too scary? And there's certain parts, I find there's like the stereotypical expectation of how a person is supposed to look or behave when they have cancer, right? Or how a character, like in December, actually during the holidays, he got really sick and he was hospitalized, and we spent our Christmas in the emergency room. So like we still were, we still had our smiles. We were obviously, trying to joke around, keep the spirits high, but you wouldn't, and then people would, be like, oh, like, how are they, smiling and joking around, or, but they expect you to be all droopy and sad, but that's not how it is, so it hits different, especially. So I wrote things like that. So I'm like, oh, what is considered too much, or, do you just go cold, do you just go all out? So
yeah.
The
balance that you're trying to find, and I'm not trying to be insensitive here, right? Like, it's like, you want this to be entertaining, right? You want your film
exactly
for
still to capture the audience.
Yeah. And I think there's a balance there where, if you do that perfectly, it can be so impactful, and I think there's a wave of, like, because I think of the time where right now we're living through COVID and all these difficulties, that, like, authenticity is in, there's no like, I think
Yes.
we have to push for that, like, stop glossing, over things.
For sure. I mean,
Yeah.
sure.
And that's why, with my short, I made sure that I created that world that's super charming, and it started with like entertaining stuff and fun stuff. Like you didn't even see it coming, like her passing, and it's and that's kind of how to us, we didn't expect this. We were like living the American dream, and all of a sudden, bam, this breast cancer happened. And
you did everything like you're told to do. I mean, that's the other piece, is that, there's always this thing with cancer individuals. It's like, oh, what did I do? What did I do to deserve this? Was I not taking care of myself? Oh, I'm not eating well. The truth is, we don't know where cancer comes from, whether it's diet, all of that, genetics. And she did everything as she was supposed to, as I did, removal of the breast and chemo and radiation and all of the things to prevent, and then taking the pill to prevent a reoccurrence. And sometimes it happens, and we just sat for weeks, Joe and I just,
yeah,
if I had hair, I would have pulled it out, but I had the mohawk, we were just like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, yeah. I remember walking into your room and we would just cry, and that's it.
We would
That's
just hold each
nothing.
other and cry.
Yeah. But yeah, so you need to find the balance, Manoa. And again, it's very beneficial to kind of like, pitch it to friends, pitch it to people you trust, and see what's enough to convey what you want to tell. You'll find the balance in that.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for giving me this chance to share this. It was really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming and asking your question. Joe, do you want to talk a little bit about also, because I feel like your life, you've had other things that happened, that are like, that when people go, people kind of go, oh God, Joe went through that. And then it's like, and now his wife's, what the heck? What are the gods doing? But there was a time where Joe was married. Marianne hadn't been sick, but you had like a really bad burn, right? You hurt yourself, right?
Oh yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because you were at Disney and it took you out of work. And I really feel like Disney really, and the individuals at Disney really came up.
Oh my God.
To support you, right? Let's, if you don't mind talking about it.
Yeah, it was actually towards the end of my doing the training program for story, and I remember I didn't finish my final test because I got, we had a fire here in the kitchen. It was Marianne was pregnant with my youngest daughter, Mina. She was like, I think 6 months or 7 months pregnant when we had a fire. And I can show you my burn right here. So see how I can't open I lost like my webbing here, So, but I tried drawing with my left hand, people said that, you can do that if you can't use your right hand anymore. No way.
That's the additional scary part, is that that you are an artist and you do draw, and it's your right hand.
Yep, it was my right hand, and it's towards the end of my training program, and I was so scared because I didn't finish my final pitch, and luckily for me, I think my first story test that I pitched was like strong enough to kind of like help pull my score up, So, but yeah, I was so. It was like a really rough moment, and the support that I got from the studio of like, telling me to like take my time and, like believing in me and, waiting for me to heal so that I can continue to work, was amazing.
Didn't people donate sick days too as well?
Yeah.
Take time off.
Yeah. And not just not just when I got my hand burned. It is, while I was going through Marianne,
For treatment
too. Yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of love, It was hard to like leave Disney. You know, that was my home. I was very taken care of, and it's just really the nature of the short being so personal that I wasn't sure if Disney was the right place. You know, it may have been just, you know, at that stage in my life, I was questioning a lot of stuff too. You know, I was going through a lot of stuff, and you know, finding my place still, questioning what I'm doing. You know, so there was a lot. There was a lot there.
Yeah, and I think actually it shows quite a lot of bravery to actually leave and do something somewhere else. I think that's the beauty of our industry, is that you can move around. And I just wanted people to understand that story, because it hasn't always been easy for you. Yeah, you know, if someone could look at this video and be like, oh, well, he was born with it. He's an amazing artist. And then he met his love of his life, and he came to the US, and he got into the training program. But it's like, he's had a lot of things, you know, trying to knock you down, you know, and we've always been steadfast.
Yeah. And you know,
that.
Monica, you know how working at Disney feels like. Sometimes you're like just waiting for you to get fired. Like, this is my thinking, right? Like, I think it's just, maybe it's just me, but you know, I remember, like, people are gonna find out that I can't really draw, you know, like they're gonna see me.
Imposter syndrome.
Like, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you know, I think and that's what I want to talk about a little bit. Like, you know, try to like celebrate like small victories, you know, because I was very tough on myself, and like, you know, I only focus on what I can't do and try to, you know, like I remember being given a review and always just looking at the negative stuff, you know, and wanting to like erase that on my review. And it's, you know, I mean, it's good, but it's not the healthiest, you know, like try to, right, Bobby?
Yeah.
So,
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
We have to focus on some of the good, but I'm the same way. If somebody's telling me all this positive stuff, I'm like, okay, what are the ones I have to work on? So I always ask for feedback. Tell me what I need to work on first, so I can hear all that, and I can be really present when you tell me something, the positive things that I do. It just works for me. But
I'll share. This might be non consequential and kind of embarrassing, but this is like my to that point, Joe. This is like my daily to do bit every morning. So like daily tasks every morning. 2021, baby. Let's make your show happen. I don't know, but big wins. I hit. Can anyone see this? Monday PRs. It's a social weekend. Posted personal art, meditate, talk to yourself very nicely, say good things to yourself, exercise or do 10,000 steps, Disney emails, personal emails, Rise Up Animation emails, IG messages, CC boards, that's the project I'm working on at Disney, and file a tax extension. I forgot that I put that in there. And then like Rise Up Animation schedule of like who I'm gonna meet to get feedback on. So I wanted to go into the big wins bit. I mean, just like talk, get to yourself, like celebrate your big wins, you know? I don't know why I shared that, but like,
no,
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Bobby.
Yeah, just celebrate those big, I mean, small, like big wins. And you just gotta, it's like talking kindly to yourself. I mean, like we can rail our like put us through the mud of just sometimes, but like, yo, every week, I mean, there's something that we do that is kind of like a small win, to your point, Joe. My mom asks Joe, Mom, do you want to come on?
Your mom?
Yeah.
Your mother?
Yeah, my mom is always.
Oh my God, I would love to meet your mom, Bobby.
Mom, can you ask Joe your question? Do you have? Are you proper?
Are you camera ready, Mom?
Kamusta po?
Cam ready, Mom?
Yeah.
Mom?
What?
Okay, do you want to?
I was asking already, but I don't know if you can hear me or not.
No,
Hey.
we couldn't hear you until now.
Asking,
Oh, okay.
so everybody,
Hear me
this
now.
is my mom. She's in Bremerton, Washington. She's the center of my life, and so it's
Thank
just
you.
Is your mom's name Cosette?
Cosette.
Yes.
From like it's like Les Miserables.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what everyone tells me.
Sorry, I know you were here first, but it's beautiful. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Nice to
But
meet you.
anyways, I just texted Bobby and I asked him whether your wife was Filipina.
Yes, yes.
Joe. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Filipina, and we met in college. Yeah, she was born in the Philippines too. We both went to college together and moved here a month apart from each other. So yeah, she was Filipina po.
Oh, okay. So was she also an artist?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
she actually worked on Disney Interactive. Also, she worked on Kingdom Hearts. I don't know if people knows that, but it was one of the video games that came out from Disney. So,
Yeah.
It's so
Okay. Well, can you guys see me?
no, we'd like to.
Wait,
Bobby.
hold on.
You gotta turn your camera.
I have a screen that says stay muted or unmute. Do I unmute? Stay unmute, right?
Yeah, you're unmute.
You gotta turn on your video, Mom.
the video.
Where? Oh, wait. Unmute it.
And then stop like video. There should be like a video button. Looks
Wait a
like
minute.
a little
I
camera.
So the screen doesn't go away. It says stay muted or unmute. Bobby, help me out.
Bobby, help your mother.
It's okay, unmute. Okay, never mind. So where should I go?
Well,
There
Oh,
you go.
there's a stop
Turn
video.
on your video. Turn on your video.
Video.
Yeah, turn on your video. Because I don't. Wait.
Good.
Hold on.
Where's my video? Supposed to be up there, but it only says mute. Raise hand. Chat.
Are you on your phone? What are you using? Because at a phone or a laptop or a computer, a desktop computer? Oh, she's
Yeah, Mom. Can you turn on your video?
because it's different on the phone than it is on.
Yeah,
Ask you.
yeah, it is.
Mom, you're
Mom?
muted.
Hey, you're muted.
Okay. I
Okay, cool.
muted myself. See, when we do Zoom, it's supposed to be on the iPad. It's on the top, and it only says
Oh wait.
There's
Let
still a
me
camera up there though.
disable that.
it says mute, raise hand, chat.
Oh, do you have to allow it, Bobby?
Yeah, join as panelist.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Now, is there a camera button?
Camera. Oh yeah, the video.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Wait, there you go. I can't see you at all. What's happening?
All right. Okay.
She's got the Jesus and a virgin. Is it Virgin
I
Mary?
know that's our prayer.
I love it.
Oh.
There you
That
go.
Wow, good for you. She took off her virtual background.
Wow.
Yeah. Because we always do it every night. We pray. So my background is Jesus Christ and Mother Mary.
Mother Mary, yeah. Beautiful. Hi. Oh my goodness. So nice to meet you.
This is my second time in Bobby's panel.
Well, we love Bobby. I hope you know how much we love Bobby.
I love him so much too. Thank you for loving him.
You've done a great job. He's an amazing human being, amazing man, amazing artist, amazing friend. Thank you.
Yes.
Mom, we can close it. We can close it out. Ask one more question of Joe that you think would be beneficial for the Rise Up audience. What do you think?
Oh man, why did you have to ask me that, Bobby?
Oh,
I don't know.
Well, your first question was so great, asking about Marianne and if she was Filipina.
Yeah. The
Really
fact-
Filipina as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's something, if there's something
No.
Philippine, specific.
Well, I know that Filipinas, they do great. in animation. And I was just wondering, because the way he was telling us about how he proposed to her.
Ah,
Yeah, and I was just
Cool.
thinking, maybe she's American, or, but then again, the way he was talking further, and that's why I asked the question.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
No, most of the shots, the scenes on the short is based off of moments that I had with Marianne.
Right.
Like that part where they're throwing the ball at each other, circling the planet. It was based off of, and this is what's great about working on the short. It just kind of made me think back, relived all those great moments that I had with her. It's based off of one of our first dates where I was actually the one who taught Marianne how to ride a bike.
Mm.
It's on a park, like on the grass, and that we couldn't build the prop, so we just just walked.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want to see that. Is it on already somewhere?
Yes,
Where?
it's on. Is it on Apple? Right?
Apple TV Plus po.
You have Apple TV?
Oh,
Mom?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
You've got to see it because there's also.
I'm probably gonna be crying all the time.
Oh, I did. I cry every time. I just think about it and I cry. The happiness, but tell us a little bit about like the meaning of the mango.
Oh, the plant. The mango plant. Yeah. Oh, you gotta watch it, mom, because there's a lot of like Filipino stuff in there.
Is that a short?
It's the same short. It's one of the moments that
short.
happens in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a mango plant there that's in a dome that he plants, and in the short we use it to foreshadow what could happen to the astronaut. Like he's gonna be that plant who's like which is like withering there and
Oh,
dying.
okay.
Yeah, and then the alien shows up, like Marianne, basically, and help nurture that plant and help it to become this fruit-bearing tree that
Mhm.
provided for their family. So it's actually a symbol. It symbolizes my gift of being able to draw. Like I didn't know what to do
Oh,
with
really?
up until I met Marianne, and
Wow.
so
That's amazing.
yeah. And now that Marianne is gone, it's up to me to make sure that continues to provide for my family. So
Mm,
yeah.
That's right.
that's something else.
The
Your
woman
story
behind
is so
the man.
touching.
The woman behind the man. There are many of us.
Oh yeah. Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
For sure.
There's one right here next to me.
Bring her
Oh,
in.
really?
Like, no, I don't want to show
Oh,
you.
man, you're gonna embarrass her.
Wait, who is it?
Yeah.
Who is it?
It's Joey Ann. Come
Come
on,
in, Joey Ann. Come in.
Come on, Joey.
Joey Ann, didn't you just graduate? Come in.
Hey, what up? What up? What up?
Oh, Joey
Show your,
Ann.
show your face.
Where's Mina?
There you go.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
So
Joey.
she's gonna color her hair pink.
Are you? Good.
Yeah.
My blue is coming out. It's getting so little bit left, but I would love to see your pink hair.
No, but that's the she's the character with the pink hair. The kid with the pink hair.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I have a lot of hair, so
You
it's
do.
very long. It's gonna bleach it, but it's fine. We'll figure it out.
Nice.
Is she the youngest or eldest?
Eldest po.
Mm.
Where is the youngest? Where's Mina? Is she around or no?
No, she's in college. She's
Oh,
yeah.
she's in college. Oh my goodness. You guys are so grown up.
know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mina's at school. Yeah, I came home for this weekend. Good timing. So
Cool.
Perfect timing. So good to see you. We
Yeah.
got to do a game night.
Yeah.
yes. Okay, I will.
This is how we roll. This is how we roll.
Family time.
Family time. I know. This is so Filipino, right?
Yeah, super Filipino.
It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's-
Bobby loves lumpia.
oh my God. No, Monica loves lumpia. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. Joe knows because I ate a whole bunch that time at his.
Yeah.
Hey,
We'll get together again. We'll have lumpia and pancit. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I just brought on Ivan because he's also Filipino. But anyway, thank you so much for being a part of this. To respect everyone's time. Joe, let's catch up again soon. Monica, and thank you for co-moderating this with Joe. Mom, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe you should be like a co-moderator like every panel.
Just
Yeah,
ask
Bobby.
weird questions.
I think
Yeah.
it's great. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. Joe, thank you so much. Beautiful short, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future. Continuing on, and just keeping in mind if you want to hire me, what up Disney, TVA. But like Joe, if you want to bring me on for like anything else, I will. I'm project based, man. So like I'll do anything.
Can
like,
I show you my dog?
Can I also just tell you guys that Joe did do a sequence for us on our short, and it is
nice?
the best.
Nice. I'm sure it is, man. Joe's crazy. Joe's
Such a
legit.
gift. Such a gift.
Close.
Hey.
Joe's legit.
Hey, you guys, thank you for doing this. And it's
A lot of
I'm
fun.
I'm so proud of the two of you, like, doing something like this and
Say hi to the
Fighting.
people.
Hi.
oh my god.
What's your doggy's name?
Queenie.
Hi, Queenie.
Oh, she's so cute. Oh my god.
She's like, my dog is.
Look at Bobby.
I would tell her,
Bobby looks so embarrassed. Come on, Bobby. It's a family time.
it's a family time, Bobby.
And Queenie is just my family here in Bremerton.
Oh my goodness, that's the best. Is
Look at Bobby. Bobby, where are you?
he's
Come on.
hiding? Ivan, where are you? Where's your camera? Come say hi real quick.
Hey, Ivan.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
It's okay. It's all right. Yeah. It's all good. But thanks, Mom.
Okay. Let me go now.
No. It's fine. We can close out together. Joe, Monica, Mom, Ivan, and the dog. Thank you so much for joining us for Filipino American History Month. We're gonna close it out, and this is awesome. And have a great weekend, everybody. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Love you
Joe.
so much. Mwah.
Oh, thank you guys. And what a great way to end like Filipino American History Month, right? Like for
Correct.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I even forgot to watch this. I said it was already 30 minutes on. And then I remember, oh my gosh, I want to watch this show, guys.
Now, is there anything that you guys want to say in Tagalog, like to like a little parting something? Because we're closing out.
Do it, Joe, and do it, Mom.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, real quick. I don't know, just a small treat for you guys. Check out Blush again, and there's like a hidden thing on the astronaut's chest that hopefully you guys will recognize. So
Okay, I'll watch that.
and Mom, end it for us, wrap it for us.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not a good talker.
Oh, it's okay,
But
Mom.
anyways,
Go ahead.
anyways, I'm glad that I was able to join you guys. I didn't want to because I'm a shy person sometimes. But anyways, thank you so much. Nice meeting you, Joe. And there's my good old son. I'm Monica. I always see you in the panel.
Yeah.
Is that really a hair? Can I ask her?
Yeah, that's really my hair. I have no hair on the sides. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Bobby, you gotta do a panel with your mom, man. No, it's you. Oh my God, you have to now. You have to.
I-
And let me know. Let me know when you do. Okay? I won't miss it. I won't miss it for anything.
Oh, wow. Let your daughters join too.
Yeah, I will. I will. And yeah, to our fellow Filipinos, maraming salamat. Mabuhay always, you know. Yeah, and thank you for the support. And yeah, thanks,
Do it.
Bobby. Thanks, Monica. Thanks,
Thank
Mommy.
you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Monica. Thank you,
everyone.
Mom. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. Thank you, Mom. Thanks, Joe Mateo. Ivan.
Thanks, Mom. Bye, Joe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.